Hi and welcome to TeachStar, and today's video we're going to be looking at double lessons. Now, at the start of the year, come September, or probably in July when the timetables come out, everyone always scrambles through them and looks to see their classes and when they have their frees and PPAs. But something that a lot of people come up with is, or a lot of people witness, is that horrible double lesson. Essentially, you've got maybe 2 hours, or depending on how long your lessons are, but an hour and 40 or whatever it is, with the same group. And double lessons happen, like they're a necessary evil when you do timetabling. Sometimes you just can't break up a group, and sometimes like you have to have them twice on a Monday. I have had double lessons with a lesson in between, so period 1 and period 3, but period 2 I've had a different group, for instance. And they're slightly easier because you can walk away and then you can have your next lesson with them. They're really common, I think, in sixth form. In my experience, sixth form seem to have doubles quite a lot, and I think some schools and some timetablers and some head teachers think, well, instead of having 5 minutes wasted between lessons, you can get more in the lesson by having them blocked together. So you'd have 2 lessons in a row, so you'd have all that time for learning. In my experience, it doesn't always work out that way, and some students find it really difficult to be with the same teacher for 2 hours, or whatever the equivalent is in your school. So I'm just going to talk through kind of methods I've used when I've had double lessons, and see whether anything I've said is helpful to you. So when I've had double lessons in the past, I've had groups, especially I think I had a double lesson with the Year 11 group, and what I've had to do is say, right, when the bell goes, you can walk around the school for 2 or 3 minutes as if we've had changeover, and then we start the next lesson. When you come in, that's the next lesson. And I've not come to that really easily, and I'm not set out to do that, but the group I had were just not going to sit there for 2 hours straight. They needed to have a break. And you can have a break in the classroom, but for me, I always don't mind them going to the toilet between lessons. I know some schools allow that, and some schools really don't like that. But I think if you've been sitting there for 2 hours straight without a toilet break, I don't think that's fair. With the sixth form groups, I always say to them, right, if you need to nip to the toilet, go now, just come back quickly. But with that Year 11 group, I just liked having them all out and then starting the next lesson. Now, that might undo all the hard work about putting these 2 lessons together so we have that extended learning, but I'd rather have them focused than them just there for 2 hours. So having a break in the middle is really, really important. Try and think about the types of lesson you have. Try and have the first lesson quite a heavy lesson, and the second lesson maybe a practicing lesson, or maybe a kind of lighter lesson when it comes to learning, because as they go on, they will learn less and less. I mean, that your last lesson of the day is always the hardest because they've had all those other lessons, but at least with the lessons they've had in that day, they've had variety. With you and your subject, you are just having the same lesson for 2 hours. There's no variety there, there's no different teachers, no different environment, no different subject, and so it is very, very difficult for them to make the end of that 2 hours. And it's difficult for you as a teacher because that's a long time to have with the same group. Even if they're the nicest group in the world, it's a long time to have with them. So my heavy recommendation is to break up the lesson and to make sure that the second lesson is not really heavy, that you think, right, okay, I'm going to do this topic here because this is really tricky. I'll do that topic first, and then actually that's a really nice topic, or do a practical or something else in the second lesson, so that when they're not going to be at their best, so at their best in the first lesson maybe, but they're not going to be at their best in the second lesson, even if they're nicest group, concentration is not something even the nicest people can help not having. So have that second lesson as a more kind of catch-up lesson maybe, or and don't make sure you don't do the same topic for the 2 lessons. I think that would be a bad idea. Having a 2 hour on the same thing. Try and make sure the second lesson is maybe a different topic or a different aspect to the topic, and different kind of activity. If, for instance, in the first lesson it's been lots of short questions, maybe the second lesson is extended writing or the other way around, to break up that lesson. And we've talked before about breaking up just a normal lesson to have like little breaks throughout and changes of activity. That's going to be even more important on a double lesson. Now, I have heard people have triple lessons before. I have experienced it once, kind of. I had period 1, 3 and 5, so it wasn't any together. But I've heard people who've had period 1, 2 and 3 with the same group. And that's going to be challenging, and that's going to need a lot of planning to make sure that there's that variety in the lesson. But please comment below if you are in the same boat, if you've got double lessons, and if you've got any tips for other people with double lessons that will help them get through it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 5 o'clock in the evening. Thank you.